for joining.
Oh, I did nothing. Justin came over one day, we went into a closet in my house, and I went, I basically had all my sex noises, and that's what's in the trailer. Mercifully, Silent Bob doesn't really speak. He just grunts a lot.
So I'm, again, Justin Woodward, co-founder of Interabang Entertainment. The Mix, we have all our great games over there. And I'm with my friend...
Bannon Rudis. I usually make video games, but I came in from the heat because it was very hot out there. And then Justin said, hey, can you get on stage and talk about video games? And I said, yes.
Awesome. So Bannon will be moderating us on this like little discussion, fireside chat. But before we begin, we're going to show you the trailer for Jay and Silent Bob Chronic Blunt Punch. Let's hit it. Whoop, whoop. All right. So without further ado, give it up for Kevin Smith. Yeah, we're going to be sitting.
Hey, kids. Apologies, I was the one that was late. I was here on time, but I couldn't find the place. Anyway, we're fucking here, yay.
It's a small building.
It really is.
Easy to miss.
How awesome is that?
Dude, thank you so much for joining.
Oh, I did nothing. Justin came over one day, we went into a closet in my house, and I went, I basically had all my sex noises, and that's what's in the trailer. Mercifully, Silent Bob doesn't really speak. He just grunts a lot.
I made you say so many voices that are not going to be in the game because when we added them in the game, you're like, this doesn't fucking make any sense, you know? It was so... You know what's really funny, too, is when we were first there, you were like, oh. And then you're like, oh. Yeah, and then you just like really got into it.
Passion,
really
man.
Cool.
Well, also, Jason went, and he put a lot into it. And so after that, I was like, I can't let him show me up. So then I started giving it the
yeah,
but it's like, these are noises I've never been in a fight in my life, so I don't even know if they're the correct noises.
You did an amazing job. We were in your pantry, so we like...
It was not even a pantry, closet under the stairs. It was a real Harry Potter kind of thing.
That was pretty dope, though.
You could really hear the passion in the grunts.
They could, right?
Yeah.
I tried to give it the full Hugh Jackman. Did you ever see those videos where he's like, ah?
Yeah, that was really sick.
Yeah.
So Bannon's got questions.
Yeah, I got a couple of these. So Jay and Silent Bob have had a long history in film, but how does it feel seeing the characters translated into a video game format?
For me, it's everything, especially when they did the side scroller first, when we did Mall Brawl, when that happened, because that's my generation of video games, right? But seeing this and seeing the amount of work and effort and artistry that went into it, in terms of like all the character design, thinking about our world, being able to adapt our world without having to reach out to every studio that ever worked on our movies and stuff. It was a real artful dance, but the design is astounding, and I'm just so happy they made me like thinner than I was in all the movies.
Yo, we had to redo all the the animations, but I mean, also we wanted you to be the strong character and Jay to
for
be
the first time in my life, I get to be the strong character. The transformation sequence is awesome and whatnot. It's a real fun fighter game, man.
Awesome.
How did this project even begin to start? Like, how did I know that he apparently showed up in your closet one day and you guys started running, but how did that even start?
We have a mutual friend, Trevor, who plays Elias in the movies, Trevor Furman. And Trevor Furman hit me up and he was just like, my friend's thinking about making a video game and he would love to do it with Jay and Silent Bob. So I was like, nobody is asking for these characters. It's not like, oh shit, fucking Blizzard wanted to do a game. Nobody gave a fuck. So I was like, oh, by all means. And so, it started as like me going like, oh, some kid will have fun with it and it'll be real basic 8-bit and shit. And then when they started seeing things, I was like, your friend's legit. He's like, yeah, he's legit. Didn't originally you do the Fig fundraising and then?
Yeah, so it was really interesting because Trevor, I met through a mutual friend, was like, a mutual friend said, hey, my friend wants to make indie games. You know all about making indie games. Can you introduce us? So we got introduced, and then I looked up Trevor Furman, and I was like, wait a minute. And I'm a big fan, right? Of all.
But he's a gamer and always
he's a gamer
has been, yeah.
And a writer, and an amazing writer.
Yeah.
So I was like, what the fuck? This is Trevor Furman from Clerks 2. So luckily he lives in Berkeley and I live like a mile away from him. So we met up, we had some pizza, and then we started discussing games and got nerdy about it.
Did you discuss in a closet?
We definitely did, yeah.
Or a pantry.
It was amazing.
The running theme is a leitmotif of this game, closets everywhere.
Yeah. And so after we met and hung out, I was like, I'm down. We met like 3 or 4 times. We hung out, drank some beers, and then I was like, I gotta know, because my chain's been pulled on licenses before where like nothing happens. I was like, yo, because I thought maybe this is bullshit. And I was like, yo, you gotta have Kevin email us so I know this is legit, so I don't get my hopes up. And you did, like pretty much immediately. And then we were like, how do we fund this thing? And I was at Double Fine. I don't know if you guys know what Double Fine Productions is. I was at that studio helping their indie space, and one of the COOs was starting a whole platform. So he's like, let's bring it on the platform. And I remember this vividly when we went over your house. You were like, yo, you guys got it. I don't want this guy giving me any salesy bullshit. So I had to run out and meet Justin, who was the founder, and I was like, dude, do not, you're gonna fuck this up if you don't. You know what I mean? So,
Justin, how long ago was this?
This is crazy. This was 8 years ago.
Is that when it began?
Yo, it began 8 years ago. Yes.
Wow. And that's the thing. It's like I could never and would never complain because I don't know how long it takes to make a video game, but again, it's not like people were banging down the door going, I got a better one to make. It was like they were carrying the torch. And indie game development is like close to my heart, even though I don't come from the same world. I came from indie film. So I was like, look, as long as it takes, they'll get there. I've seen the designs. I believe it's going to happen. And we were in a rare position to be able to keep granting rights to keep going because me and Jay own Jay and Silent Bob. They're not owned by any studio. When we sold Clerks to Miramax years ago, I'd asked my lawyer at the time, I was like, hey Matt, he's like, we're about to close the deal. Is there anything else you want to ask for? And I said, can you see if we can secure the rights to use Jay and Silent Bob in Mallrats? Because I know I'm going to put them in this movie Mallrats. And so my lawyer was like, yeah, fucking Mallrats. But my lawyer was like, well, let me see. I'll go in there and talk to him. He's like, it's the law. The worst could happen is they could say no. So he went in and he called me after he was done with the negotiation. And he was like, well, that worked out better than I expected. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, I told them that you wanted the rights to Jay and Silent Bob, and they from Clerks, and they were like, what's Clerks and who are Jay and Silent Bob? And he's like, when I explained that it was a movie they just bought recently and these are the 2 characters that stand outside the store, they were like, well, why do they want to own those characters, if anything, in the movie?
Are they extras in the movie just walking past? What do you mean? One guy doesn't talk, what do you mean?
It was even better, man. I said, what did you say? And he's like, well, I told them the one guy, his name is Jay, his real name is Jay as well. I said, that's right. And I told them that since he's from New Jersey, he's afraid that if he signs this paper, you will own him for the rest of his life.
Every time he goes to Starbucks and they ask for his name, he's like, I can't.
They use Jay's stupidity as a negotiating tactic. So the word that came back from the Miramax lawyer was like, well, the movie's called Clerks. It's about the guys inside the store, not the guys outside the store. Let them have their Jay and Silent Bob. And so ever since 30 years ago that happened, we've owned our own characters, which is fucking rare. It would be like owning R2-D2 and C-3PO, right? Like, you don't own Star Wars, but you got those two fucking droids. So every time they make one, you're like, cha-ching. But it's afforded us the ability to like forge our own path, make our own living. We've, done the Jay and Silent Bob podcast for 15 years. That never would have happened if those characters were owned by some studio. We had to cut them in. So in this instance, it was very easy to be like, I'm gonna keep betting on the boys, man. Like, I believe in them. Again, they get all the credit for being like, I have an idea. Nobody else was coming to be like, your characters would be fun in that world, even though me and Jay knew full fucking well that our characters would blend into the world of gaming. So just like, I'm not saying like I looked at you and I saw a young version of myself and stuff, because you were way thinner and more attractive. But the spirit of like, I'm gonna do this thing, even if I have to carry it myself, sweating across the finish line, that gets my vote every time. You gotta understand, like, just for the record, in case you're sitting out there, like, how does shit like this work? No money has ever exchanged hands, right? Like,
you invested a little bit.
Oh shit, I gave him money, man.
Yeah,
like
a little bit. No, that is not how it works.
No,
we license. We have a couple Nickelodeon licenses now.
I wasn't even fishing for that. I was fishing more for
pay, yeah.
I never got any money. Because it doesn't. To me, that's not it, man. To me, it's just like the passion with which you kids have gone about this project and how fucking amazing it looks. Yes, it may have taken time. Sometimes quality takes time, but I would back that always. 100 out of 100 times. And I've been right to do it. Yeah, it's a little frustrating for some people who are like, hey man, I've been wanting to play this game forever. Once you get it, you're gonna play it, be done in a day, and be like, what next? So let them get it right, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be dope. But this guy right here is like, yeah, this has been forever, son. Yeah, so no, I feel
it's been a red hot minute.
Technically 8 years, yes.
Yeah, but one thing that I would say is like with Kevin and Jason is
you're like the fucking Avatar, the James Cameron of fucking indie games right now, man.
Yeah, I know, right? No, but the cool thing was because we did it all ourselves. Like we didn't until now. We have Atari is now one of our partners, right,
yeah,
to help us with distribution and stuff. In Digital Eclipse, but before we did this all ourselves, right? We had the funding, and there was some weird stuff that happened with that particular company shut down, and we didn't get all of the funding. Everything was good.
It was like a Kickstarter for video games.
Exactly. So we had to find ways to forge ahead. So in a really cool way, Limited Run Games worked with us, and we put out a whole new other game.
Yeah.
And Kevin blessed us with that. Like, you guys can do that. You know what I mean? And we ended up using that money, all went back into the game and to pay off Kevin for the first amount of
Did I got paid back?
Yeah.
See, you can make money in video games, kids.
But no, and we gave it
It's debatable.
Yeah. And we your own money back if you're lucky.
For sure. And we ended up giving the game away for free to all the people who backed the game.
The Mall Brawl.
The Mall Brawl game.
And it's a sweet side scroller of a game.
It's super fun. Yeah.
I never got past Patrick Swayze, man.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that you did mention about the whole like Jay and Silent Bob thing, how you own the rights to them. When I was younger and I first saw Jay and Silent Bob show up in another movie, I didn't even know that was even possible. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, this was like, I always considered like the View Askew universe kind of like the first MCU. Like, I didn't even know.
If only we made the money. Shit.
But I didn't even know that was even like you could.
Do you know where I learned it? I learned it in John Landis made a movie years ago that everybody, of course, knows called Trading Places. Then a few years later, he made another movie called Coming to America. Yep. And in a scene where Eddie Murphy was in both movies, Don Amici and Ralph Bellamy were the two rich guys in Trading Places that fucked with his life and they lost everything. As Eddie Murphy in Coming to America is walking through the park with his girl. They give money to 2 homeless bums, and it turns out to be the same 2 characters.
We're back in business.
Yeah, they're like, we're back in business. And I remember being a kid and being like, you could fucking do that? Like, they know each other. So it was something that always lodged in my brain, and never like, one day I'll do that shit, because I never saw movies and thought I'd make them. But years later, when I was like, oh, I want to make films, and I knew I was going to make another one, I was like, I'm going to set them all in the same like universe. All my characters are going to know each other and shit.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's been fun, man.
Okay, so now getting back to the game, what was your involvement in the project? Did you provide any creative input, whether in terms of like dialogue or character direction?
I honestly gave the kids all the freedom in the world. I was like, go nuts, man. I don't know how to write a video game. I know Paul Dini worked on, the Arkham games for years, and he would tell me like writing video, he would try to explain the process, and he's just like, basically you have to write 9 to 10 different scripts for every moment and beat and stuff like that. Honestly sounded like a lot of hard work. And so I was like, they know what they're doing. They're passionate about it. They're literally from the world. Let them do it. So any questions they had, I was happy to contribute. But honestly, it was not like, Silent Bob's got to be this. I was like, do whatever you want.
It's crazy. Is like Trevor is just he's like a genius.
Yeah.
And he could, reading your scripts, he downloaded your writing stuff.
So did he write as well?
He wrote. We collaborated on like what the overall arc of, the idea of the gameplay and the characters and like the assists and that type of thing. But Trevor really went in to write the dialogue and stuff.
This may mean like very little, but in 30 years, the only person who's ever authored those characters has been me. So I was like, fly, like go with it. And I'm glad to hear that like you had an assist from a guy who was there for some of it and stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
And everybody has been really awesome too. Like Brian, everyone's just been really, really cool. When I went to the 25th anniversary of the shop, the comic book shop, Secret Stash, everyone's just so warm.
I think it probably has a lot to do with we're all so old, and we're like, a video game will make us young and relevant. So naturally, we're happy to see you.
You could tell you're old because you do refer to him as a kid.
To be fair, I refer to everybody as a kid.
It is adorable, though.
And generally, I get away with it, and people are like, that's charming. But every once in a while, motherfuckers push back. I walked into a bathroom, this is like 3 years ago, man, and it was at a restaurant or something. There's a bunch of people in there. I said, hey, kids. And one guy was like, kid? And I thought he was going to hit me. And I was like, whoa, it's cool, man. Like,
I
put the dick down.
I just need the stall because I need to do some grunting sounds.
Yes. Ugh, that kind of stuff.
You did mention, like, you didn't do any of the writing. You just like, hey, I'll let them do the dialogue. There was one thing I wanted to personally ask you about was like Baldur's Gate 3. It has an estimated 174 hours of dialogue. It's all spoken dialogue and like lines of dialogue. How would you even begin doing that? Because this is like, you get all these branches of this character. If you say this thing, it goes to this. Then it goes to this. And then this actually makes like the ending different. How would you even like fathom doing that? Because it isn't a script.
That's why when Paul Dini would try to explain it to me, because I was like, oh my God, he's like, you should do this. You would have so much fun. He said, it's a lot of
Would you?
I don't think so, because I'm a really lazy writer. I mean, look at my fucking movies. I'm a pretty lazy writer. And the amount, like Paul said, like our scripts on those Batman games, like Arkham, what were they, Arkham Asylum or that, he said, but like 1,000, 2,000 pages. Like, a normal script for a movie is like max 120 and shit. So it just seems like a lot of work that I'm really not geared for.
Yeah, because a recent game, Starfield, has 250,000 lines of dialogue. And it's like... How do you even, like, it would be so weird to just, I'm going to write a script, but it's just spreadsheets.
I hope that person's paid by the word.
We did, this is nowhere near that, but the whole thing that we added, one of the mechanics is the kind of diss yo mama mode, right? The convo combat.
The dozens.
Yeah, he's laughing, man is laughing. But yeah, you play the dozens against the bosses. That one's going to come later, but we had to branch off as to all the phrases that link together in order for them to kind of cohesively make sense to create an outcome from the boss and the characters.
Did they ever fight each other?
What do you mean?
Jay and Silent Bob?
No.
They would never. Way to keep it on.
They would make up, you know what I mean, immediately.
True.
So
resisting the urge to make that the final stage where they fight each other. As a writer, I give you high props.
That's very Double Dragon.
Yeah. We did that in Mall Brawl, though. We had the negative version,
yes.
And they ended up, spoilers, they end up being actually Dante and Randall.
Right.
So video games, and going with this kind of question goes into that. Yeah. Video games offer a different kind of storytelling. What do you think that video games can do that TV or film can't?
It lets you dictate where the story's going. I mean, you're mostly, when you go to the movies, go and watch TV, you're a spectator to the story. You can't influence it. It's just happening to you. Beauty of a video game is you're making the choice. You go left, you go right, you punch, you hit, you kill. All of these things extend the story, move it forward. Feels like, if you were the type of person that would be bored by watching movies and TV and want to be more involved, that seems like one of the only paths. Other than that, just start making shit yourself.
And you were talking about being independent. You've been making movies your way for a very long time now. How does it feel?
Badly is what the critics tell me my way is.
You
but yes.
shush. You shush. But how does it feel just staying independent this whole time?
You
did go Hollywood, and you're like,
anytime a studio or a network is like, hey, we like you, believe me, I'll hang out with them and shit. But that hasn't always been the case, and traditionally, it's rarely been the case in my career. I've been indie more often than not. So that's fine. I never saw myself as a part of the industry. So anytime I have been, it's always a delightful surprise. When I came in, I saw myself as an indie filmmaker. That's the only way I ever saw into the business at all. I'd watched movies my whole life and never once thought I could do this shit until I saw Richard Linklater's Slacker. And that's when I was like, oh, maybe I can do this sort of thing too. So it was not seeing a giant movie. Like, as much as I loved 1989's Batman, I never watched it and said, that's what I want to do. Those movies sustain me and entertain me, but the kind of quiet stories I tell, you never need a lot of money for it. And in a world where, if I put all my fortunes in the hands of others and like, hey man, they'll finance my work, that could go away, right? Like a studio could change their mind on you or something like that, or whoever is the person there who likes your work could move and suddenly you don't have like a patron or whatnot. So I've always kept plates spinning and pivoted between their world and my world. And my world's way more satisfying. I can go whenever I want, tell any story I want. Nobody's telling me you have to cast this person or that person, or it needs to be this, or you have to rewrite it. As long as you modify your expectations, it could be a happy life. I've been doing it 30 years, and I've said this a zillion times before, but it bears repeating one more time. I learned this from my wife. My wife did not want to marry a guy that looked like me. Like, I saw the dude she dated in high school, and they were fucking hot and shit. Then she met me, and she was like, well, if I modify my expectations...
You'll do.
Yeah, I could work with this. And we've been together like 25 fucking years and shit.
And now you're fucking hot. Look at you.
Thank you. You're right? I tell her that all the time. I was like, now it's my turn and shit.
Calm down, Bannon. Calm down.
I can't help it.
If you modify your expectations, man, like some people expect the world and they want everything and whatnot. I'm shocked that anybody 30 years in is still fucking talking about me or my movie, so I'm slobberingly grateful I get to do anything. But I don't want to leave it up to anybody else. I didn't wait for somebody else to tell me I could start, so I'm not going to wait for somebody else to tell me I'm going to stop. I'll keep going as long as I can. That's the indie mindset, I guess.
Give it to him.
Hey!
Yeah, give it up. I have a question, actually, because it's really interesting. As we were making the game, I was studying your moves. The industry of film and distribution has evolved in crazy ways, and you made really interesting choices as to how you were going to market your game, or your games, your movies.
They are my games, but yeah.
And there's some indie developers here. We have that whole space over there. We have like 25 indie developers. I want to know, how did you choose to adjust your style of distribution?
It's a great question, and it really comes down to this. It's no genius, it's no foresight, it's desperation for relevancy. If the model is changing, and that model like generally supports successful people, I'm not always one of those, and if the model's changing, it's going to leave me behind first before anybody else. So like I said, I don't ever want to stop until I want to stop. And so at that point, I had to figure out, all right, how else can I do it? What is this? Well, like, theatrical release for me was always a trial by fire. It was always the worst part of making the movie because I can't control any aspect of that in terms of whether people go see it, what the critics say about it, shit like that. So you have all this joy of making it, and then you put it out there and you're like, did it work? No, it didn't work. It didn't make enough money or the money we wanted to make for the weekend and shit. And then you're meant to feel bad for a while. Then it would go to home video, and then we'd rise like a phoenix. We were always very strong on home video. So as the business model started changing and people were losing interest in like making my shit, I didn't want to stop making my shit, started lowering my budgets and realizing that I had this whole side hustle where I would go out in the world and just stand on a stage and talk about the movies I had made. And people would pay like 50 to 75 bucks to just sit there and watch me talk. So I was like, what if I made a fucking movie and brought the movie, introed it, showed the movie, and then we talked afterwards. So that became my model, and it was so gratifying because financially, yes, it's, you know, basically a movie costs like 10 bucks, depending on where you are in Los Angeles, probably 20 and shit. Smodcastle Cinemas, the movie theater I own in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey, no more than 10 bucks. But, you know, when people come see Jay and Silent Bob Reboot or Clerks 3 on the road with me and Jay there live, you know, 50 to 100 fucking bucks. So obviously the upsale of the ticket makes you a lot of money. But what's great for me is it's so gratifying. I go out there every night to a packed fucking house, like 1,500 to 2,000 people, because we go to theaters and shit, not movie theaters, but like theaters. And it's like going to a church every night where I'm both the priest and Jesus at the same time. So it became like more gratifying than the other thing. The other thing was like heartbreak every time. Like, it didn't matter how well the movie did. We never did well enough, right? So it's like, oh, we just have to survive theatrical release and then the good times could start again. Now I could bypass that shit and just make it all about the good times, as long as I keep the budget low, get the investors their money back, and I've proven with our model, like, hey, this works. But it's not that I was so smart. It was like, what can I fucking do? And I'm like, well, I'm already doing this. What if I slid movies over to here? So it was more like a combining two things that I do so I could continue doing the one that I've always loved.
And besides, you know, in Reboot, Chronicon is next weekend.
Yeah.
So y'all should go if you all could go.
Yeah, next weekend I'll be on a stage in Chicago we're doing Chronicon, which was a big plot point in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. So we're doing it for real and shit. It's my first. I've been to cons my whole fucking life. This is like our first con. We should have called it Kevin Con. We didn't, but it's called Chronicon.
And that kind of stems from that hustle, right?
Yeah,
like
a bit. Spin every plate, kids. Like, I've never had the luxury of being the person that can rest on the laurels of one fucking thing, right? So if I was just like, hey man, I'm a filmmaker and that's it, I'd have been out of this business long ago. I wouldn't be up here talking except in a retrospective of remember Clerks, and that's about it. So in order to stay vital, man, I spin as many plates as possible. Try this, try this, try this.
Is the video game one of those things that you're trying?
Absolutely, and I don't even have to try it because they've got it. You know what I'm saying?
Kids.
So it's an attempt at trying a new thing without having to do the heavy lifting myself. Just standing by and being like, you got this. And the older an artist gets, like, that's kind of the chairman emeritus role that you take on. Don't get me wrong, I'll always be making my shit until I go up, toes up off a movie set, right? But at the end of the day, you can help others with your experience. You know, whether or not you like the movies I've made, I have 30 years of fucking experience doing it. So it's like, that's useful to somebody. So helping the next generation of artists like pursue their art is not just like your duty as an artist, but it's also smart because it's gonna give you something to do. You know, something to look forward to, something to be entertained by, something to play and stuff. So between this and my friend Logic made a movie and I produced it and edited it.
That's so dope.
Yeah, like I found this like nice place where I'm like, ah, shit. Now I'm gonna help out the next generation or whatnot. Like, I've helped myself enough. And again, don't get me wrong, I'll still be making my shit. But it feels like now, if anyone gives a fuck about the experience, you could pass it on to them.
Yeah. And it keeps the art form going anyhow.
100%, man. That's how the wheel goes forward.
Because I do pixel art on my side of things here, and it's like that is, if we didn't keep doing pixel art, it would just be all 3D. Right. So it's like I do pixel art, and then I used to stream on the weekends, show people how I do pixel art. They start doing pixel art. I'm like, all right, go fly, like you said, like fly, go keep doing the pixel art. The thing that's should have been dead like I don't know, 30 years ago, but
keep it alive.
Keep it going.
Who says why should it be dead, right?
Yeah, it shouldn't, but like technology has moved past that.
Yeah, but that's like dead technology is a playground for any artist, right? It's like when people move on to the next big thing, they leave that there. You get to go fuck around it. Richard Linklater in his film Slacker, the one that made me want to be a filmmaker, one of the formats he shot in 16, 8mm and shit, but he also shot with a Fisher-Price camera called the Pixel Vision camera that they put out for children years and years ago. It was marketed for kids, like your first video camera. And it took very rudimentary pixelated images in black and white and shit. Years later, he put it into a movie. Like, there's no such thing as a dead format. Somewhere, like, I just read an article, cassettes are coming back, and the big problem is they don't have enough fucking players for them anymore. All the players went away. So, yeah, there's no such thing as dead technology as long as there's a living artist.
And I think that's why we made an NES game.
Yeah.
Right? Which is crazy to think that we're can make one from scratch.
Yeah.
What was the last game you really got into?
It's the last game that I really got into. Hardcore?
No, just like, I played this game. That was fun. That was like 30 years ago, but...
I mean, it's close. The last game that I religiously played was Lego Star Wars when Harley was a kid. We sat there every night for a month playing Lego Star Wars, and that was her first exposure to Star Wars, which just played a pretty big role in my life and whatnot. And so her first understanding of the Star Wars saga was through Lego. When I showed her the movies, she was like, why don't they break apart?
I did not know that. That's really awesome.
That was what we bonded. And she still talks about it to this guy. I was cleaning out like the house, and she moved. She got her own house and shit, but she left all her fucking shit behind. So every once in a while, I pack up her shit and bring it over to her house. And, you know, like, she's a real, like, sentimental fool and shit. So, like, I'll bring a bag full of stuffed animals. It used to be her fluffed animals and shit. And she's like, what am I supposed to do with these? I was like, well, we're going to give them away to, like, a kid's charity or whatever if you don't want them. And she's like, so why'd you bring them here? And I was like, for one last look at their mother, like, before they all go away. And she was like, you're a fucking prick. And
you're a monster.
I opened the bag and I'm like, you know, when she loved me, you know. And so she collected all, they're sitting in her garage. She's like, I won't let them go. Same thing with the fucking Lego Star Wars cartridges, man. Recently I found them. I was like, I'm never going to play this again. I was like, but let me see if the kid still has a heart. And so I brought him over to her house, and she was like, what am I supposed to do with these? I don't even have this system anymore. I was like, oh, we could just throw them out, even though we spent hours bonding over this. She's like, you're a fucking prick, Dad. And so I'm slowly turning her into a hoarder. That's my plan.
Excellent.
Wait, this isn't even mine.
Yes, bit by bit, I bring over shit ain't even mine. Ain't even hers.
Don't you remember this Ghost Rider collectible statue that we bonded over years ago? I need you to hold this for me.
That's hilarious.
Here's a bunch of correspondence you had with Ben Affleck in the 90s. It belongs here. Don't get rid of it.
Keep this safe, please.
Exactly.
Never show anybody.
We should ask a couple more questions, potentially, and then we're going to do a short Q&A.
Sweet.
It is 4 now. Should we go into the Q&A?
Yeah, then we should do the Q&A.
Kevin doesn't want to talk about video games anymore.
I can talk about whatever you like, kids.
Well, one thing I did want to say, the video game, like movie tie-in stuff and TV tie-in, whatever, like the Jay and Silent Bob thing that you guys are doing, it's not like we're trying to rush this out because the movie is coming out. No. It's not like the T2 NES game was just trash. The Back to the Future game was trash. It's like, because they had only like a couple months to do that, you could take your time and like give this actual property.
This isn't really tied to any like one movie, like, oh, it's about the next movie. It's just kind of
just the character.
30 years of Jay and Silent Bob, and you see every movie in there without it being like chapter by chapter. But yeah, no, thank God we're not trying to hit a date, but yeah.
Yep. All right, shall we go to the Q&A?
All right, yeah, we're going to have folks line up. Someone's going to bring a mic. Oh, she is? Okay.
Everybody having a good con so far? What's fucking better than this? More of this, less of everything else.
I do have to say it's freezing up here.
It is a little chilly, but I'm okay with it because I was sprinting to get here when I parked poorly. Thanks to my man, he got me here. Fuck.
So we got some questions. For the questions, I mean, of course, ask questions for Kevin, but try to keep it game related because that's what we're here for. But you can go ahead.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
It's great to not have to wait a whole day in Hall H to see you when it's like, I'm right here.
Look how close we are. You can throw a fucking tissue at me, shatter my vertebrae or whatever the fuck.
Oh,
That's how close we are.
You got my next. You got my question. Thanks a lot. Oh, no. It's not about. Well, there was gaming. I guess you talked about gaming in it. It's my question about geeking out. Why do you feel like it didn't last as long?
The TV show?
Yeah, especially when AMC was like the horror channel. It was specifically seemed like it was tailor-made for what AMC was at the time.
Yeah.
And how disappointed were you?
Well, thanks for bringing up good times, man. It no, it was. Look, I was shocked it went at all to begin with. The numbers weren't there to support doing it again. I guess that's why they didn't do it. But AMC they had a bunch of reality program, and then they killed a bunch of it. And Comic Book Men survived for I think about the longest run of that. But Geeking Out, we only got the one season, and I think it was because the numbers weren't there. That's it. If the numbers had been there, I'm sure they would have kept going. It wasn't a very expensive show.
Thank you.
Now, something like that, real quick, like, do you take the L and just, like, whatever, learn from it? Or you're like, I'm going to try another thing. I'm not going to just, like, try to, like, I don't know, like, reconfigure what I want to do again. Or it's like, no, I'll try another thing.
No, instantly, I'm like, the world will fucking pay. No. It wasn't, to be fair, it wasn't my show. It was Greg Grunberg's show that he invited me in as a co-host. So, yeah, it sucks to lose any show that you're on, but it wasn't like, oh man, this was my baby that I raised from cradle to grave. So it's sad, but I lived.
Gotcha.
Hi, Mr. Smith.
Hey, how are you?
My name is Jay Quinzel. Tusk was a fucking awesome movie.
Weird flick, right?
It was great.
Sorry, I can't do this sitting down. I'm scared.
It's all right, it's all right. And my question is not video game related, I'm sorry, but I'm a student of screenwriting and acting, and I really want to hear some advice from you, like direct advice. You have anything?
Absolutely, man. It's the same advice I give everybody who asks this question, so are you okay with that? If you're looking for new advice,
No, it's good.
Todd Phillips or somebody better than me.
It's all good.
All right. This is what I say to every creative. It's not just young, it's also older people, because I meet a lot of people who are like, I've been waiting how old are you?
37.
Perfect. 37. Yeah. Perfect, man. A lot of people think creativity is the domain of the young because naturally when you're young you got a fire in your belly, but no, at any age, think about it, the longer you live, the more experience you have, the more stories that you have to tell. So it makes sense that older people will gravitate toward the arts, man, even if they never have their whole life. So I don't give a shit if you're a kid or you're an adult. This is what I always say to creative people. Your voice is your currency. This is the thing that is the most valuable aspect of what you can bring to the table. What is your voice? You have a perspective of the world, right? It's how you see things, it's how you take things in. How you fucking spit that out and communicate that back to the world, that is your voice. It's distinctive. It's incredibly different from mine, from hers, from his. It is uniquely yours, man. There's a word a few years ago that they demonized and turned into a shitty political term, but it's quite beautiful and it describes everybody in this room. We're all fucking snowflakes. Everybody is so unique and wonderfully fucking different, and there's value to that, man, particularly in our business. Now, a lot of people look at the business we do and they're like, oh, it's all fucking sequels and remakes. And yes, predominantly they do that, but they don't dream about making sequels and remakes. They dream about you. They dream about you walking through that door and telling them the story they never heard before, man. Like, they don't dream about me. They're like, we know what he could do, fucking Clerks, that's it. They dream about the person they've never seen before is gonna walk through that door and tell them a Matrix-like story or something that they've never seen that made them wanna be in the business in the first place. Nobody gets into this business going, I just wanna do the same old shit. Everybody wants to tell some brand new story, man. So your brand new story, that's what you bring to the table. A lot of people like to ape what has gone before, right? Like, this has been successful, I'll try that. You could go that path. It may work, man, but I would rather die on the cross of trying something that had never been tried before and saying it with my own distinctive voice, because you can't guarantee an audience will ever show up. So the only audience member you have to satisfy is yourself. You make the story that means something to you, man. You hope everyone goes along for the ride with you, because if you're making it for you, then you'll guarantee success for the lone audience member that you're going after and stuff. But something tells me, and I know this based on experience, if you use your voice and put it out there, let people hear your very distinct perspective. And if it is your currency, it's your duty to fucking spend it as freely as possible. It never runs out, man. It's not something that breaks down, man. It's not subject to the laws of physics and shit. For example, if you're young, enjoy your youth. One day you'll be old as shit like me. If you're beautiful, enjoy that. One day you'll be old and withered. If you're rich, enjoy your money. It goes away. One day you'll be fucking poor. But your voice never goes away. It only gets more and more clear with age, with more experience and shit. So it's invaluable for your entire life and will always be valuable to somebody else. Your voice is your currency. Spend that as often as you can. Good?
That was perfect advice, and I hope to one day work with you.
Done and done, man. Fucking all you have to do to work on a Kevin Smith movie is be somewhere where it's happening.
All right. I'll look.
If you're near, it's all about adjacency. That's it. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Kevin, I feel like I need to go film a movie now.
Right? Go make a flick.
I think I might need to leave
That's
early.
my job here, is to inspire people. Yes.
Name's Enrique.
How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
So good.
A big fan.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to know, in Mallrats, we saw Brody play NHL.
Yeah.
What characters do you think would play Chronic Blood Punch?
In my movies, Jay and Silent Bob for sure. Yeah. They would love that. But can I tell you, I mean, it's not the question you asked, but can I sidestep to tell a story? When we made Mallrats, the video game in Mallrats that we shot in Minnesota when we shot the whole movie was the EA Sports NHL 94. So we shot that movie in 95. And then months later, when we were in post-production, somebody from Universal was like, Sega or whoever's video game is in that movie now has been in Mallrats for as long as you've seen it. They were like, they'll give us like $5,000 to put their video game in the movie. Now, the EA Sports video game was personal. Came out of my life. Me and my friends fucking had tournaments all the time. We lived and died by that fucking game.
I did not know that.
It's a true story.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was like, I don't want to do it. I want to hold on to mine. And they're like, Kevin, this is the movie business. It's all about the bottom line. And they swapped out my shots with the other video game. Now, no disrespect to that other video game, but that was not the one that I played, and that meant nothing to me. So when I watch Mallrats, I'm constantly reminded of the first moment in my career when somebody was like, turn around, bend over, you know. And I had no choice to take it. I didn't pay for that fucking movie, so I couldn't turn around and be like, I'm not putting that in there. But it was a lesson learned going forward. Anything that meant something to me or was important to me, I made sure that I had my hand in it. Case in point, you know that Buddy Christ statue in Dogma? I paid to have that shit made, so when the movie was done, I was like, thank you. And I took Jesus with me, and I've had him with me ever since.
That was a good question. That's I did not know.
Where is Buddy Christ right now?
Buddy Christ is in Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, which is celebrating its 27th year. So if you go there, you could see that. You could see Tusk. You could see Iron Bob costume from Jay and Silent Bob reboot. And I have two, other than the Funko Pop store, you know they make those giant pops. You can only find the Funko Pop. We have a Jay and Silent Bob one, life size, that we take pictures in front of fake quick stuff. If you're ever in New Jersey, and you remotely like this shit, oh my, you'll cum your pants.
It's dope because there's like the Blomobile's like coming out of the ceiling.
Coming out of the ceiling. It's like, does anyone remember Planet Hollywood? When we opened Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, like that was the dream. It was like, let's do our own Planet Hollywood. Nobody's ever gonna celebrate my fucking movies. I might as well celebrate them and shit. So we started putting up all the props and hanging up costumes, and we've been doing it for damn near 30 years, man. I think we're gonna make it to 30 years. We signed a lease for another 3 years. That takes us to 30 years. And then the key is to see if we make it another 7 years, so that we'll be open 37 years total.
And we have free shuttles waiting for everybody outside.
Let's go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, man.
What are the chances of freeing Dogma from Weinstein prison?
It's freed.
Is it really?
Yeah, the Weinstein estate, or whatever you fucking call it, criminal enterprise. They sold it. It's been sold. It was sold as a package of 10 movies. It wasn't even a special thing. It was thrown in. I heard the whole fucking story. Boy, you want to talk about like an ignominious end to something that meant the world to you. That is my testimony about a lifetime of being Catholic. And it was chucked in with a bunch of karate movies for like half price and shit. Doesn't matter. It's out of the hands of a rapist. That's all I fucking care about. It's in the hands of a new company, and we have been talking to them about re-releasing the movie. They're like, would you tour with this? I was like, fuck yeah, I'll tour with that. They're going to re-release it on video and all that good stuff. So it's coming. This is the year. Even though right now, in November, it'll be officially the 25th anniversary of the movie. It looks like we'll be doing all the celebrating next year for the 26th, if there's a celebration to be had. But people like that, seem to like that movie quite a bit. So crazy, because people are like, how can I get it? I can't wait to see it. I was like, watch it on YouTube. That's where I watch it all the time. They got a really great 4K copy on YouTube. Anytime I want to revisit my friends, I go to YouTube and watch it.
Kevin, it is my favorite movie of yours.
Oh, is that? Thank
Yes.
you for that. It's a wonderful movie about faith. I like the kid who made the movie. How are you? Look at your movie ears.
Well, thank you. This is highlight of my weekend, by the way. I'm going to try not to cry because I've wanted to see you for ages. And
oh my God, how sweet
of my
are you?
children and everything, I've put that off. Trying to think of a question to ask. You've changed my life.
In what way?
I was a really quiet kid and a really abandoned kid, and nobody oh my God.
We're going to do it. Let's do it close.
Oh my God, I love
Tell me right in my eyes how I changed your life while I hold your hand.
Nobody existed like me. Nobody, every uncle looked at me and went, why are you so blunt? You're rude. And your movies made that plausible for me to be who I am. And the only people that accepted me were my friends. And your movies, I literally made everybody watch. And every lunch and dinner we had, and we had a conversation, this is like a Clerks conversation. This is like being with Dante and Randall. So you literally broke me out of being, I'm a quiet person and alone, to being able to have friends and a family. And
Number one, come here. Number two, oh my God, who are you with, number one?
my husband and my children actually.
Let's have a threesome. No, seriously. I just want somebody to take a picture of this moment. Do you have a camera?
I do.
Kevin Conroy will take a picture for us, I bet. Turn around. He's got you. We'll reenact the hug. Like, take two. Everyone pretend it hasn't happened yet. Everyone on this side be like, oh, when it happens. All right, ready? Here we go. You got us framed up? Okay, remember I said, first off, let's do this. Second off, let me tell you something. This is going to sound so weird, but when I made Clerks, it was all about representation, which is weird because I felt I wasn't being represented. Mind you, I'm now a middle-aged white man who talks about comic books. I'm represented everywhere and shit. But at the time, I didn't see my world up there, just the way you described it, where you're like, same thing. I was like, I never saw anyone who talks like us, thinks like us, says the things we do and shit. There was a hole, and I was like, I want to fill it. And so you saying that, like, I felt seen by that movie, and that allowed me to be me and shit like that. When I started the journey, I wasn't thinking about you, I was thinking about myself. But 30 years in on the journey, all I care about is you. So when I meet you, and I meet you a lot, not you, you're individual, but people who are like, I don't know why, but your bullshit movie fucking spoke to me and whatnot. That means fucking everything. That means not just good things for me at age 54, but that goes back in time and tells the fucking kid he was right. Like, you're right, you're special, you can make this fucking movie even though you have no talent. So thank you for that. Means the world. I'm gonna hug this man while I'm here. All right, where do we go next?
I didn't ask my question.
Oh, ask your question.
How would you, for both of you, how would you make Zack and Miri make a porno into a video game?
That would be crazy. That'd be awesome.
I love watching shit go into other shit. So this is a game I would totally play. When I was a kid, and Atari was big, you would read stories about R-rated games that we never had access to in the wilds of New Jersey. One was a Halloween game where you stalked and killed as Michael Myers, and I was like, oh, and another was an actual sex game. And they showed graphics in this one video game magazine when I was like 13, 14. I was like, oh, I want that more than anything in life. So yes, once this game is out, 10 years later, Zack and Miri, the game.
That's 10 years later. That's actually a good idea to incorporate that into the game.
Pull a bit in.
Well, because Jay and Silent Bob aren't in that.
That's true.
And also, thank you for the up the George shots from over here.
I tried to keep it tasteful, but yeah, I didn't realize you guys would be at cock height.
No, I have a perfect view here. I'm always at cock height for most people.
I'm always at cock height. That's going to be the name of my biography.
Actually, I work in a jewelry store.
I'm always at cock height, the Kevin Smith story.
Actually, I work in a jewelry store, and we had some NBA player come in and buy a Rolex. And I literally walked out to my coworkers and said, oh, I don't even have to get on my knees. You just stand there.
What endgame person was it? Thor?
No, it was an NBA
The
player. It was an NBA. It was a basketball player.
Oh, NBA. I thought you said endgame. I was like, was it Thor? Was it Iron Man?
I would have literally gotten down and given head then, and my husband wouldn't be mad.
That's my kind of man right there.
Yeah.
Can I answer your question about the video game? I would make it a first-person rhythm game.
Nice.
A first-person what?
Rhythm game.
Rhythm game?
Could it be like a DDR style? You have to do it with your feet.
It would definitely have a haptic device of some
Right?
sort.
There would be some D's in there,
All
yes.
Thank you. Thank you for sneaking in the video game question.
We appreciate that. Hi.
Hi. Sorry, I'm really nervous. So I really resonated with the character from the 4:30 movie, and I just.
Which one, the lead?
The lead.
Brian David?
Just
Yes.
Like I grew up, loving movies and just always wanting to be at the movies or talking about movies, and just I love how the whole movie's set in the movie theater.
Thank you.
Is that character's pretty much based off of you?
Yeah, that was when I was the movie that we just did that's out now on home video, 4:30 movie. The main character is taken, all the good parts taken from the best memories of childhood of me. So my parents intended to name me Brian David when I was born, but there was another Brian David born the same day. So they pivoted and named me Kevin Patrick instead. So when I was writing this, I was like, let me take Brian David's life for a minute and see how it might have been, and kind of whimsied down there. The whole thing exists because we own that movie theater, and so the movie theater looks old as shit. So we were like, ooh, we could do a period piece as long as we stick a camera and keep it inside, don't look outside. But it means the world that you connect with the character. My favorite part of that movie is when he and the usher have the conversation.
Oh, about Valley Girl?
Yes, and he feels seen. That's honestly when I was a kid, that's all you wanted. Was adults looked past you, over you, didn't give a fuck about you. Yeah. Being seen for that moment, where somebody's like, oh, I get you, I know what you're about, and you're on your way or whatever. It was my favorite trope for a young person movie, almost for any movie. I generally have some moment where our hero encounters somebody who gives him a real heart-to-heart. In Mallrats, it was Stan Lee. And so in this flick, it was Genesis. I love it. I
actually just introduced my niece to that movie because she's hyper fixated on X-Men right now.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, she loved all the comic book references and everything in that.
I had to fuck with Mallrats a little bit recently because I was writing a thing, so I had to go back and see what the exact dialogue was.
Yeah.
And I remember I got proud for a second. It's stupid, but I was like, we are the first movie that has ever referenced Wolverine. And we made none of that Deadpool Wolverine money whatsoever. But yeah, that was the first time anyone ever said Wolverine, snick, snick, snick in a movie and shit, way back in 95.
Also, I'm going to be late for work, but it's totally worth it.
Do you want me to tag that? Do you have a Sharpie?
I do have a Sharpie.
I see you holding it and shit. I jump off, but I ruined my knees on the last one.
So real quick, we have around 10 more minutes, but I wanted to grab someone real quick. Yeah, because he was asking for a question backstage, and I want him to go next, so I don't mean to...
To anyone or just... Elizabeth? Meanwhile, talk amongst yourselves.
Kevin, I was really impressed that first time you jumped off stage, that triple front flip you did was amazing.
Thank you.
I know we had to redo the whole hugging thing, but yeah, the first try, that was amazing.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, where are we going?
Right here.
Ooh, there's a light. Hold on.
It's the camera. Camera is there, pointing here. If you want to be in camera.
Okay, sorry about that. So my question for you is, I know that you have experience working with deaf actors in movies before, and what is your suggestion as far as creating an environment that's more welcoming for deaf and disabled actors?
I mean, with Trishelle and Jane Silent Bob reboot, like, I don't know that we altered much. My experience has always been that, like, Trishelle didn't want anything altered, like, in her behalf. You know, you have to make some corrective behavior corrections, in as much as, like, sometimes you'll talk to a person and look around. When you're talking to your performer, of course, you're making direct eye contact. But other than that, it was remarkably the same.
I really appreciate your work and being willing to work with deaf actors. Thank you so much for that and being so inclusive and giving that opportunity to someone.
Thank you. Means the world.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So we got 2 more questions.
Hello, Kevin. My name is Michael. It's an honor to finally see you in person.
Such a pleasure, Mike.
I have 2 questions for you. They're both for my 2 cousins who couldn't be there. Their names are Robbie Juarez and John Juarez.
Okay.
My question for Robbie is, for those who don't know your story for Moose Jaws, can you remind everyone, and will we see it one day?
We're getting closer. Jaws, Moose Jaws is the movie I was born to make. It's Jaws, but with a moose instead of a shark. That's simple. And I'm happy to report recently, me and Justin Long have been texting because he's going to play a major character. And we found a way into the character that really excited us both, so we've been going back and forth about it. So Justin had reached out to me because he was like, oh, I'm going to start a company that does low-budget horror movies. Do you still want to do Moose Jaws? I was like, fuck, yes. So we got a little bit closer this month. So hopefully next year we're stepping on a set with a giant rubber moose that eats children, bites their heads off.
Sweet. And then my second question for my cousin John Juarez is, you're supposed to be making a satanic cult movie. Will that be after Jane Silent Bob Store Wars or before Moose Jaws? Any details?
Probably after. I'm writing it right now. I'm outlining it, but not satanic, and that's their point. Like, my cultists are like fucking Satan. They go for a different demon altogether and stuff. So I'm in the middle of, I'm almost done with my 3rd act, and then I'll start writing it. It's cool, but it's different kind of movie than I ever did. It feels more like one of them Blumhouse pictures where they put famous people in it and shit like that. I like it. So far, so good, man. But I've always wanted to make a cult movie because one of my favorite movies is Rosemary's Baby. And Rosemary's Baby is just so mind-bendingly fucking spooky because all the Satanists, all the cultists are normal as fuck old people and shit. And it just makes it even more like unnerving. So mine isn't set in a world of elderly people, but it's set in a world where you would not expect to be hearing motherfuckers talk about like the rebel plane and the fall of the, shit like that. And so I love that when you have normal ass people in a movie and they just start spouting like deep cuts biblical shit about the devil. Oh, I was raised Catholic, so I love that shit. The devil for us when we were kids, that was our Darth Vader, man. He was in all the best movies and shit. So now growing up, I'm 54, I think I'm ready to try my own. Red State was kind of my reverse cult movie. It wasn't a demon worshippers, it was God worshippers and stuff. Now I want to go to the demon worshippers.
Cool.
Thank you, sir. No, we got to move. We got to move on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Tell the Juarez brothers I said thank you.
Hello, Kevin Smith.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm just really starstruck because I can't believe I'm seeing right here.
Oh my God, man. Now's the time. Pull out the gun. Shoot me. You'll be famous. Kevin Smith, it's your time.
So Jay and Silent Bob Store Wars will be coming soon?
Jay and Silent Bob Store Wars, I thought we were going to be shooting in November, but our money didn't come through. Looks like we start in March.
Got it.
Yeah.
And also, what happened to the sequel to Mallrats? What are the Mallrats?
Still fucking plugging away. Honestly thought that the Mallrats sequel was probably going to go away for good once we lost Shannon, sadly. Pour one out for the absolute legend that Shannon is. But oddly enough, it sparked another discussion. And so when you're playing with somebody else's money and IP, I don't own Mallrats anymore, Universal does, you kind of have to play by their speed and their beat. And, you know, we've been trying for years to find the right way into that relationship so that they're like, here, go do what you want. So hopefully soon, but no promises whatsoever. But something happened which made it look more possible than it ever has before.
What was it like meeting Stan Lee for the first time?
Really?
Uh-huh.
I mean, you're gonna make me cry, man. Like, fucking, that's touching. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, thank you so. Wait, before we leave, we got Nico here, who's gonna take an amazing photo of all of us. Real quick, could you make? I want to get Kevin.
You want on the
us
floor
down here, and then just make sure that we can get here. We good? Come on. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for coming out and checking out Jay and Silent Bob Chronic Blunt Punch. And thank you, Kevin Smith. Thank you so much for coming through.
Kids, many thanks for coming out. Please enjoy the rest of Comic-Con, man. I love you all. Look for Chronic Blunt Punch when?
November.
Yes! Pretend to be Jay and Silent Bob. Thank you so much.
I'll see you at the free shuttles outside.
Yeah, see you in Red Bank, kids. Bye-bye.
Good news, everyone. You can subscribe to Fandom Spotlite for free. Well, that doesn't seem right. And this says have fun and follow your fandom, whatever that means.